What if I told you that the prison holding you back doesn't have walls? That the ceiling above your dreams is made of whispers you heard as a child and believed? That some of your deepest struggles aren't about what's happening, but about what you think is possible? We walk through life wearing invisible chains, silent beliefs stitched into us by fear, failure, and other people's opinions. These are the saboteurs of potential, the ghosts that whisper, "You're not enough, you can't do that," or worse, "This is just who you are." But here's the truth: your mind is programmable, and those beliefs, they're just old code. In this video, we'll dive deep into the 7 most common and destructive limiting beliefs, where they come from, why your brain clings to them like survival ropes, and most importantly, how to cut the cord. This isn't about fake positivity or vague motivation. It's about rewiring your internal reality with real tools backed by psychology, life experience, and a whole lot of truth. If you're ready to stop being a prisoner of your own mind and finally walk free, then stay with me. This might just be the video your future self thanks you for watching. 1. I'm not good enough. The imposter whisper that sabotages success. You know the voice. It doesn't scream. It whispers, "They're better than you. You just got lucky." Sooner or later, they'll find out you're a fraud. This is the imposter syndrome, and it's not rare. In fact, some of the most accomplished people on earth, doctors, CEOs, artists, even astronauts, have confessed to feeling like they don't belong. But let's be clear, this belief is a liar in disguise, wearing the mask of humility and self-awareness. But underneath, it's fear. Fear that you're not measuring up, fear that you're not worthy of what you've already earned. Where it comes from, the roots of this belief often stretch deep, far back into childhood. Maybe someone planted the seed when they said, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" Or B, it was unintentional. A teacher who praised perfection and ignored effort. Or perhaps it came from comparing yourself, day after day, to carefully curated highlight reels on social media, while your own life felt like behind the scenes chaos. Comparison, criticism, perfectionism, they're the holy trinity that feeds this monster. How to break it? So, how do you fight back? Not with empty affirmations, but with truth. First, name the voice. When the thought, "I'm not good enough," arises, don't swallow it, observe it. Say, here comes that old imposter again." This isn't just semantics, it's neuroscience. Labeling a thought activates the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, and decreases activity in the emotional fear center, the amygdala. Next, collect your evidence. Write down your wins, big or small. The goal here isn't ego, it's reality. You did that presentation. You did get through that hard season. You do have value that isn't tied to being flawless. And finally, replace perfection with progress. The imposter thrives on perfectionism. Kill it with consistent, imperfect action, because real confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's choosing to move forward, even when doubt shows up. So the next time your mind says, "You're not good enough," don't argue. Don't spiral. Just smile and say, "Thanks for the warning, but I'm going anyway." 2. Money is dirty or hard to get. The hidden shame that blocks abundance. Say you want freedom, you want options, you want to stop stressing every time the bills hit your inbox. But deep inside, something pulls you back, a quiet, almost sacred discomfort. You say you want wealth, but part of you believes that wanting it is wrong. This is one of the most common yet invisible beliefs sabotaging people's lives. Money is dirty. Rich people are selfish. It's hard, and maybe even wrong, to make a lot of money. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Where it comes from, this belief rarely starts in adulthood. It's inherited. Maybe you grew up hearing phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "Rich people are greedy," "We may not have much, but at least we have morals." These weren't just sayings, they were emotional blueprints. Sometimes it came from religion, where poverty was equated with virtue and wealth with sign. Other times, it came from watching your parents struggle and subconsciously learning that money always comes with stress, sacrifice, or shame. Over time, these impressions became beliefs. And beliefs, they drive behavior. So now, when opportunity knocks, you hesitate. When money starts flowing, you sabotage. Not because you're lazy, but because you're loyal. Loyal to beliefs that no longer serve you. How to break it. Step 1. Question the story. Ask yourself, who told me money was bad? Who benefits from me believing that? Look closer. It's not money that's dirty. It's what some people do with it. But if a knife can harm or heal, depending on who holds it, so can money. Money is neutral. It's a magnifier. It makes you more of what you already are. If you're kind, you'll give more. If you're a builder, you'll create more. Step 2. Replace guilt with gratitude. Try this mindset shift. The more I earn, the more I can serve. The more I receive, the more I can give. Wealth doesn't have to come from hustle and burnout. That's another lie. Wealth can flow from alignment, creativity, and contribution. And finally, surround yourself with a new money narrative. Read books by ethical entrepreneurs. Listen to people who see money as a tool, not a trophy. Rewrite your inner dialogue every single day, because if you don't upgrade your money beliefs, you'll always hit the same invisible ceiling, no matter how hard you work. So next time you catch yourself thinking, money is hard to get or money is corrupt, pause and remind yourself, money doesn't change me, it reveals me, and I choose to use it well. 3. I don't deserve to be happy. The silent punishment we carry alone. There's a belief so quiet, so deep, that most people don't even know they have it. But it's there, woven into their choices, their relationships, their self-sabotage. It whispers, happiness isn't for you. You're meant to struggle. You don't deserve more than this. This isn't laziness or lack of ambition. It's a hidden emotional punishment, often rooted in early experiences of guilt, rejection, or abandonment. Maybe you were made to feel responsible for other people's pain. Maybe you were told you were too much, not enough, or simply in the way. Or maybe no one ever said it out loud, but their absence screamed it. As a child, you internalized it. You thought, if I was really lovable, they wouldn't have left. If I mattered, they wouldn't have hurt me. That pain didn't disappear. It grew into a belief that joy must be earned, and that suffering is the price you pay for simply existing. So how do you break something that's lived in you for so long? First, by understanding this, guilt and shame are not the same. Guilt says I did something wrong. Shame says I am something wrong. The belief that you must suffer is shame in disguise, and it is a lie. You don't need to be punished to be valuable. You don't need to suffer to prove your worth. Life is not a courtroom, and you're not on trial. Second, practice radical self-compassion. This doesn't mean just being kind to yourself. It means recognizing that your suffering is not a sign of your unworthiness, but of your humanity. Say to yourself, what happened to me was not my fault, but healing is my responsibility. That single shift changes everything. And third, allow joy in before you feel like you've earned it. Don't wait until you've fixed everything, solved everything, healed everything. That day may never come. Choose small moments of joy now. A walk in the sun, a song that moves you, a breath that reminds you you're still here. This isn't luxury. This is reprogramming. Because at the end of the day, happiness is not a reward. It's your birthright, and you don't have to suffer to be worthy of it. You already are. 4. A need to please everyone to be accepted. The exhausting illusion of approval. If you've ever found yourself saying yes when you meant no, smiling when you were breaking inside, or shrinking your truth to keep the peace, you know this belief well. It's the silent agreement many of us make without even realizing it. If I can just keep everyone happy, maybe I'll finally feel safe. Maybe I'll be loved. Maybe I'll belong. But here's the painful truth. People-pleasing is a trap dressed as kindness. It looks like connection, but it's built on fear. This belief usually starts early, in homes where love felt conditional. Maybe your family was unpredictable, one moment warm, the next cold. Or maybe your emotions weren't welcome. So you learned to scan every room, read every mood, and twist yourself into the version of you that caused the least friction. Over time, this emotional shape-shifting became survival. Your brain linked being accepted with being compliant, even if that meant betraying your own needs. But what begins as protection soon becomes a prison, because the more you chase external approval, the more disconnected you become from your own voice. You start to ask, who am I if I'm not performing? What do I want? Really? And the scariest question of all, would they still love me if I stopped trying to please them? So, how do you break free? First, you'll understand the cost. People-pleasing isn't harmless. It leads to burnout, resentment, anxiety, and even identity loss. Every time you abandon your truth to make others comfortable, you send a message to yourself. My needs don't matter. That belief compounds, and it drains your spirit. Second, learn to disappoint strategically. Yes, you read that right. Growth requires the willingness to disappoint others in order to remain honest with yourself. Say no without over-explaining. Express a different opinion and sit with the discomfort. You'll quickly discover something powerful. The people who truly value you won't leave when you stop pleasing them. They'll finally meet the real you. And third, validate yourself first. Begin each day by asking, what do I need to honor myself today? You weren't born to be agreeable. You were born to be authentic. And acceptance that comes from performance will never feel as satisfying as the acceptance that comes from being seen as you truly are. Because here's the truth, you don't need to be liked by everyone. You need to be loved by the right ones, starting with yourself. 5. Failure is the end, the lie that kills dreams to early failure. Just the word can trigger a physical reaction, a sinking feeling in your chest, a tightening in your gut. We've been taught to fear it, to avoid it, to treat it like a dead end. And somewhere along the way, many of us absorbed a dangerous belief. If I fail, it's over. It means I'm not cut out for this. But let's pause. Where did this story come from? It's not natural. It's cultural. We live in a world obsessed with outcomes. Headlines only tell you who won, not who fell 10 times getting there. Social media shows the victory lap, not the months of doubt, debt, and discipline. School systems reward the right answer, not the creative process. So, it's no wonder we learn to see failure not as a part of the path, but as proof we should give up. Here's the truth. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the foundation of it. Every inventor, artist, athlete, or entrepreneur who ever did something meaningful has a trail of failed attempts behind them. The difference, they didn't treat failure as a verdict. They treated it as data. So, how do you break this belief? First, redefine the word. Stop calling it failure. Call it feedback. Call it training. Call it version 1.0, because that's all it really is, a result, not a label. Thomas Edison once said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's not spin. That's clarity. Second, normalize setbacks. Talk about them. Write them down. Share them with people you trust. When failure becomes something you're allowed to name, it loses its power to shame you. It becomes part of your learning curve, not your identity. And finally, tie your worth to the process, not the outcome. Because if your sense of value depends on always winning, you'll either burn out trying or never try at all. But if you fall in love with effort, growth, and the long game, then every stumble becomes a stepping stone. So next time something doesn't work, don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, what is this teaching me? The end. No, this is just the chapter before the breakthrough. 6. I can't change my destiny. The silent surrender that steals your power. Some beliefs don't shout, they sigh, They live beneath the surface, not in panic, but in quiet resignation. It is what it is. Some people just get lucky. This is just my life. I can't change it. That's not realism, that's fatalism, the belief that your future is fixed and that your actions don't really matter. But let's be honest, this belief doesn't come from nowhere. It often grows out of deep, lived experiences. Maybe you tried before and failed. Maybe you grew up in an environment where no one ever broke free, where dreams were dismissed and survival was the only goal. Maybe every time you hoped for more, life knocked you back down. Over time, your brain did something very human. It protected you. It whispered, don't hope too hard, don't dream too big, stay safe, stay where it's predictable. This is what psychologists call learned helplessness, when your past pain convinces you that effort is useless. But here's what your brain forgot. The past is not the future. And destiny. Destiny is not written in stone. It's written in decisions. So how do you break the fatalism spell? First, recognize the story you're repeating. Whose voice is telling you that change isn't possible? A parent who gave up, a system that failed you, a fear of being disappointed. Again, if that story didn't start with you, it doesn't have to end with you either. Second, find proof of possibility. Look for real people who came from where you came from and still broke through. Not superhumans, just humans who refuse to settle. You don't need a million examples. Just one is enough to light the fire again. And if you can't find one, be the first. Third, start small, but start now. When you act, even in tiny ways, you disrupt the lie that nothing can change. Take one bold step, even while scared. Apply for that course. Set that boundary. Write that idea down. Action rewrites identity. Because here's the truth, you're not a character in someone else's script, you're the author. Your future doesn't need to look like your past, unless you let it. You can change direction. You can shift the outcome. You can choose again. So the next time the thought arises, maybe this is just who I am, respond with this, maybe, or maybe. This is just the beginning. 7. Success requires luck or connections. The myth that keeps you on the sidelines. It's a common belief, and on the surface, it sounds almost reasonable. Success is for the chosen ones. If you don't have the right last name, the right contacts, or some magical stroke of luck, you're out. It's not bitterness, it's what many call reality, and in a world full of visible inequality. Yes, there's truth in it, but here's the danger. When reality becomes an excuse to stop trying, it stops being real and becomes a trap. This belief is often born in places where doors seemed permanently closed, where the rules felt rigged, where wealth, opportunity, and influence seemed inherited, not earned. Maybe you saw people get ahead simply because of who they knew. Maybe you watched talent get ignored while mediocrity got rewarded. Over time, those moments sink in. And without noticing, you adopt a silent mantra. Why even try? People like me don't get that far. This is how internalized inequality works. It doesn't just exist in systems. It embeds itself in minds. It convinces brilliant people to stay small. It makes potential feel irrelevant. But here's what it forgets. Yes, privilege exists, but so does agency, and no external advantage is stronger than inner belief paired with relentless action. So how do you break this mindset? First, acknowledge the unfairness without surrendering to it. Yes, some people start ahead, but others start later, and still pass them. Life isn't a race, it's a path, and your lane is still yours to walk. Second, shift your focus from access to value. Connections can open doors, sure, but value keeps you in the room. If you bring skill, insight, resilience, and integrity to the table, people will notice. You won't need to beg your way into success. You'll build your way in. Third, build your own network, brick by brick. No contacts, start with one. serve, share, show up consistently. Most successful people weren't well connected. At the start, they became magnets by being valuable, curious, and courageous. And let's not forget, the internet changed the game. You can learn, grow, connect, and create at a scale that was impossible 20 years ago. You are not locked out unless you lock yourself in. So next time you hear yourself say, success is only for the lucky or the connected, stop and remind yourself, connections help, luck happens, but I happen too. And I'm showing up anyway. Conclusion: the beliefs you don't question become the cage you live in. What if I told you that none of these beliefs were truly yours? That you weren't born thinking you were unworthy? Or that success was only for the lucky? Or that your destiny was sealed? You were taught to believe these things through words, wounds, silence, and systems, and like hand-me-down clothing. You wore them even when they didn't fit. But here's the strange, almost mystical truth. A belief only survives if you agree to carry it. Every time you act in alignment with these lies, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve happiness, failure is final, you reinforce a reality that was never truly yours to begin with. And yet, the moment you doubt that belief, really doubt it, a crack forms in the wall. And what is a crack, if not the beginning of freedom? Because in the end, transformation doesn't begin with shouting affirmations in the mirror. It begins in silence. When you sit with an old belief, look it in the eye, and whisper, I no longer need you to feel safe. You weren't born to live a life that makes everyone else comfortable. You weren't designed to play a background character in your own story. You are not here to perform obedience to pain. You are here to remember who you were before the world told you otherwise. The 24-hour unbelief challenge. Here's your invitation. For the next 24 hours, act as if none of your limiting beliefs are true. Not one. Speak like you're worthy. Decide like you're powerful. Move like your future is open. Just for one day. Test reality without your chains on. Don't comment. Don't like. Don't share. Live it. And if, by the end of that day, your life hasn't started to shift, then go back to your beliefs. They'll still be there, but you might not want them anymore.